So since starting comedy, what have you seen about how it's changed? What? Give me an example, if you can, about what you could have said at the start of your journey and what you feel like you've had to put to the side now, or not put to the side.
Right, so a good example of this is my first comedy gig was in August the 1st, 2009. And back then, it was a very, very different landscape comedically. If you think who the biggest comedian at that time was, particularly in Britain, it was Frankie Boyle, saying the most outrageous, offensive jokes possible. And back then, on the London open mic circuit, which was where I started, there was this culture of saying horrific, offensive things in order to be seen to be edgy, to be shocking, to get a shock laugh, because a lot of people wanted to be like Frankie Boyle. Not everybody, there was another group of people who wanted to be like Stuart Lee. But very much there was that Frankie Boyle, Jim Jeffries-esque comedian. And more you saw that type of comedy became less prevalent on TV, it became less common. What you could discuss on TV, the type of jokes that were being broadcast on TV became more and more, how can I put this, clean. The teeth were being removed from it. To what you see now on Mock the Week bears no resemblance to what was on Mock the Week in 2009. You just couldn't get away with a lot of the jokes that happened. I mean, I'll give you an example, which is, for instance, on Mock the Week, I remember Frankie Boyle making a joke about Jordan's disabled son, Harvey. And basically the premise of the joke was that the reason she was going out with this cage fighter is because he was the only person who could prevent Harvey from then going and committing unspeakable acts against Jordan. Now, I didn't particularly like that joke. I don't find that joke funny. But that's an example of, you could say an outrageously transgressive joke on TV, and now you just wouldn't be able to say that. In fact, there's lots of jokes now that you would have got away with even 3 or 4 years ago that simply won't happen. A good example of this is you will never see, or very rarely see, a comedian criticise Labour or Jeremy Corbyn. Mm-hmm. There's very, very few.
Why?
Well, when I did it, the reason is that when I did it, I remember I had one of my favourite routines I ever wrote about the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn around Brexit. And it was very funny, and a lot of people would find it funny, but there was always a hiss when you did it. It was like,
what was it?
Well, it's just it's a bit of a long one. It's a bit of a long routine, but basically I was calling out Jeremy Corbyn for not saying what he thought about Brexit, being inconsistent, right? Because we know he probably voted Leave, and then he pretended anyway. But there was a big hiss that was always there, no matter how funny the rest of the audience were finding. And I think somehow people got into this idea in the head that it's not okay to make fun of different parts of the political spectrum. There's only one target that's allowed now, which I find very odd. But I'll give you an example, coming back to your earlier question about what you can and can't say, because you're gay, and I think this will be relevant to the conversation, because I remember the first time we had a guest on our show that we didn't know was Andrew Doyle. He's a comedian.
Yeah,
He's a gay guy, and we're very good friends with Andrew. And he came in, and I was doing my research on my phone as he's coming in, and I said to Francis, I didn't know he was gay. And Francis looked at me with a twinkle in his eye and went, I don't agree with it either. Right. A joke among friends who understand that it's not meant seriously. Irony, right? Something we all recognize as part of the normal process of human connection. If you did that in public, as I've just done, but you did it on mainstream television, you'd be destroyed. Because no one wants to give you the benefit of the doubt that maybe you were being friendly and joking, as opposed to you seriously meant some sort of discriminatory point. Do you know what I mean?